Okay, yes, I know I've been milking this topic lately of image editing on Linux, but it is something I have to do for my work. And the main tool people use for it on Linux, aka GIMP, for me personally, is a little bit lackluster. If you want to know why I think that, check out my video that I made just 10 days ago called Why GIMP Isn't Ready for Me in 2026. And this is the second video on this topic because I also have the Affinity on Linux is Incredible video. I'm also going to put this GIMP video on the end screen at the end of the video. But what I didn't know when I was making that recent GIMP video is we actually have a new image editor on Linux that claims to be a professional level image editor for the Linux desktop. And if we go to news here, they're pumping out releases crazy fast. March 10th, they had their first public release. The next day, they added 16-bit PNG support. They had another update the next day, and those were minor point updates. But then 3 days later, they had a version bump to 0.4. And then 2 days later, they had a version bump to 0.5. And then 5 days later, they had a version bump to 0.6. Now, they are slowing down a little bit. It's been a whopping 19 days since their last update, but with how fast they were going before, I expect them to be cooking right now. So their website says, no account, no cloud, no lock-in, a native Linux experience built from the ground up for Linux, respecting your system theme, integrating with your desktop, and feeling right at home. Your machine fully used. Fast filters, smooth canvas performance, and no unnecessary bloat. Every bit of your hardware goes into your work. And if we go to the features tab, layer-based non-destructive editing, embedded objects, I assume these are similar to smart objects, a new file format called .fog, full fidelity, zero compromise, and a professional tool set. We got non-destructive adjustments, selection and retouching, text and embedded fonts, filters and effects, CMYK support, and that is a huge problem GIMP has, is the lack of CMYK support, and a lot of file format support. They also got persistent undo history, with the full undo history being saved to your project, including on a close and reopen. And then layer groups, that's standard, smooth zoom and pan, crop and transform, color picker and fill, and large image performance. I think I did see somewhere, oh yeah, it was in the manual. They do have GPU acceleration, so I expect this thing to fly. Now, what is the catch here? Well, the catch is that this does cost $70. This is not a free program. Now, I already paid for 6 months of Photopea Premium, so I will just be running the free trial of this program because I have played around with it a little bit, and I do still prefer Photopea for now, although I am going to say this program does have a lot of potential and probably will eventually replace Photopea for me. It's just really early in development. For those who don't know, Photopea is my preferred editor, and this is actually a web-based competitor to GIMP and Photoshop, and it just has everything I need, and it's fast. And sorry, I always do a stillOS plug, but for me on stillOS, I have it in this little web app wrapper, so for me it feels like a native program. I don't care that it's a web app, and it is what I use for all of my YouTube thumbnails, as well as just any image manipulation work that isn't just like super bare basic. I do still use GIMP if I need to do something really, really basic, because I can just open it, work in it really fast, and then export it. So if I'm trying to convert an image, I usually just open it in GIMP and export it to a new format, or if I need to crop something like that, really basic, I just use GIMP. But for like real work that I'm actually going to have to be involved with, and I can't just like mindlessly do in a few seconds, I'm going to be using Photopea. So I will be comparing this program mostly to GIMP because that's sort of the baseline standard for image editing on Linux, but I will also be bringing up things that I like about Photopea too. So I already have it installed right now. Now this is actually using GDK4. Now I'm a huge fan of GNOME, and I'm actually using the libadwaita GDK3 port for my GDK apps just because I like the consistency. And the Flatpak of this app does seem to be using the old looking Adwaita theme. Hopefully they get to fixing this. I did also try installing the RPM version locally to see if it was hard coded to the old Adwaita theme, but it looks like that theme on the non-Flatpak version seems to just be completely broken anyway, so that is unfortunate. But as you can see, I do have that libadwaita style theme on GIMP right here, which isn't a default, but I changed it. And that's just cosmetic. I won't take it away from this program, but do fix that. I will just be pointing out any bugs I find. Maybe they can use this video to help fix bugs. Okay, what I don't like is how the menus are a little bit like transparent and blurry. I just don't like how that looks, but that's just a me thing. Now let's start off just making a new image. We got some presets. I don't really like how the preset work in here for a new document. I guess this is similar to what GIMP does, but my favorite right here is what Photopea does, where it has a little set of like different resolutions for different uses. So I can just click print, I can go to photo, screen, mobile, add, whatever. And it also has some templates on the side. So that could be something that Fog Panther could copy from Photopea. Now, if we look at the tools over here, we have a little transform tool. So I'm just going to import something. Ironically, I'm importing the GIMP logo because that's a file I have on my computer. Okay, what I didn't like is I don't see an option to just import it as a layer. Oh, I could do place embedded. Oh, boom, there we go. So I think what I just did is the embedded layer. If I click show transform controls here, it does seem to not affect the resolution if I am to resize it. So if I make it really small and then make it big again, I'm not losing any image quality from that. Obviously, if I make it really, really big, I'm gonna lose image quality if I make it bigger than the original image was, but that's just a given. So for comparison here in GIMP, they do have a link layer now, which fixes this, but I'm just gonna ignore that to show you an example of what I'm talking about. If I were to open this as a layer without making it a linked layer, and then I resize it to be really small, which by the way in GIMP needs its own tool, which really annoys me. So I make it really small and then I make it go back to what it was before. You lose a lot of the quality here. The embedded objects don't seem to have that, so that is really good to see. Now we have a rectangle select tool, a little lasso, and so this lasso tool is going to let you do a little like freehand selection. There's a magnetic lasso, which we'll test later. We got a magic wand. So I just grabbed the Notion logo here, which is just a white and black logo. So if I select the white here, I can hit delete and get rid of it. Or can I? Okay, I guess you cannot delete a selection yet with the delete key. And then if I right click the magic wand, there's a little smart selection tool, which we'll test later. We have a little image crop tool, so that's pretty easy. And I like how it shows the rule of thirds. We got a little color picker. We got a brush tool. And if we right click, there's a pencil tool. Okay, now I will say the brush tool is kind of choppy compared to GIMP. There's a little stutter when I'm drawing. I don't know if you can tell in video, but you can feel it. GIMP is buttery smooth for the drawing here. We got an eraser tool. We have a clone tool. So with this, I set a little source and then I can sort of repaint the background. Okay, it does say alt click to set source and I am doing that and it doesn't seem to be setting a source, so it might be broken. Oh, the size is too small. Yeah, I think this is broken. A healing brush, a spot healing brush, and a red eye. It appears that's missing an icon. I don't really know how to use those tools. You got a smudge tool right here. Ooh, that is laggy. Is it that laggy in GIMP? Nope, buttery smooth in GIMP. You should work on the performance of some of the brushes. We got dodge and burn, which will lighten or darken whatever you select with it. A classic paint bucket tool. A pen for a vector mask. We actually got a shape tool, so that's 0 for 1 against GIMP. Although we do only have a rectangle ellipse and a line, whereas something like Photopea also has like polygons and even custom shapes. And then we got a text tool. So let's test how text handling works. Hello, people. So we got our size right here. We can make it bold and italic. Let's change the font to something else here. All right, text handling works pretty well. Even rotate it right here. So most of the tools work pretty well, except the clone tool. Now I did see an option called place linked, and I'm wondering if these are linked objects, kind of like GIMP. So let's import this, and then let's go over here and just modify it. Okay, one thing I don't like is by default, when you open a layer, it gets marked as the background and gets locked and you have to unlock it to edit it. That's annoying. I feel bad we're defacing the GIMP logo here. Wilbur with a mustache, and then let's export that back out, and then it is not updating here. So maybe I was wrong about how linked objects work. Okay, it appears these are undocumented in the manual, so maybe they aren't finished. Okay, somehow I got in this program into a weird state where nothing I click actually does anything, but it's not frozen, so I'm gonna restart it. Okay, now let's do a test that I do in every image editor I cover, and that is remove a background. This is my favorite thing about Photopea, is if I want to remove myself from like a background of me on a wall, all I have to do is open the image, go to select, and then remove background. And if you're on the free version, there is an ad, but I'm paying for Photopea. And there we go, the background's just removed. That's simple. So for the magic wand tool, the background's a little bit too complicated for that to work on this, but there is a smart selection tool here. So we'll make a new selection here, and it looks like it's sort of adapting to the object, which is me. Ooh, if I click it though, it restarts. That's kind of annoying. Oh, I can do add to selection. And this is already way better than the object selection tools that GIMP has. Ooh, except for the hair. It is struggling with my hair. I also wish that if I were to like do something like this, I wish there was an easier way to fill in this middle selection without having to paint it in. And then also this is lagging for me. Do keep in mind I don't have a graphics card in the system. I'm on integrated graphics, but still, that kind of sucks. Ooh, Ooh, yeah. Especially if I make the brush bigger, it gets really laggy here. This is very laggy. And then I got a decent selection here. If I hit Q, we can actually add a layer mask here. And I do like how it's actually red instead of just black and white. It makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing when I edit the layer mask for me. And so now I can touch up parts of this image non-destructively here without fully erasing. It did an okay job. There's some spots here and there that it could have done better with. Okay, one thing that you can do in GIMP that I can't do here is if I click and then hold shift, it will go in a straight line, and I can't do that. Oh my god, the brush tool is really laggy. Could just be my integrated graphics though, but like it's still way faster in GIMP. Now if I hit Q, it should apply my layer mask here. And so now I can hit Control X, make a new layer, Control V. Okay, this is an okay job. If you look at like some of the corners of the shirt, Photopea did do a slightly better job here. And it was just a lot faster with Photopea. I did it in one click. But let's try and do the same thing in GIMP. Oh god. So in GIMP, we're going to use the foreground select tool, which is GIMP's very similar version of this tool. So you're supposed to vaguely draw out the object you're trying to select from the background. And it doesn't have to be exact. And then hit enter. And I somehow got GIMP to crash. Let's try that again. Okay, should be good enough. Hit enter. And then we'll hit select. It did a terrible job. Holy shit. Okay, I'm not going to do another full background removal, but I want to test out the magnetic lasso. So with this, oh my god. Okay, this is basically the same as the scissor tool from GIMP, although it seems to work just a little bit better, but not by much. Shout out to the commenter who told me you can undo with backspace. I didn't know that. Put that in my GIMP video, but it's kind of hard to move around. But I wish it wasn't auto placing like that. I wish it could just click when I want it to make a node, but it doesn't seem to be working that bad. Ooh, except with the hair. It does not know how to handle the hair at all. Okay, in comparison, here's the GIMP scissor select tool. So I do like how I do have to click for it to make a node, but it does not do a good job at all. Like it's just missing pixels here. So yeah, Fog Panther is detecting me a lot better here. Okay, neither of them can do hair. That I'm pretty sure is directly ripped from Photoshop because Affinity has it too. If I right click a layer and go to blending options, I have all these different like effects I can apply to a layer that is non-destructive. So we can do a drop shadow. We can do a little outline right here called a stroke. We got an inner glow right here, an inner shadow, just a whole lot of options right here. GIMP still does not have this as far as I know. In this program though, we can go to layer, layer effects. And as you can see right here, we can do a drop shadow. We can do an outer glow. We can do an inner shadow. We got a stroke, a color overlay, a color, gradient, and pattern overlay, a satin effect, bevel and emboss, bevel and emboss, which I can barely see, and an inner glow. So I really appreciate to see that feature. We also have adjustment layers here, so I can non-destructively do things like edit the hue of the layer right here, just like this. And this is non-destructive, so this applies to everything that's below it in the editor. So to put it on a layer, you'd either put it on top. I'm actually not too sure how to make a layer folder. It does say I can make layered groups. I'm not really sure how to do that. Now we got some filters right here. We got some blurs, sharpen, noise, distort filters, pixelate, and stylize. Let's try zigzag just for fun. So amount 100, ridges. Okay, funny. We got some layer blending modes right here. This is standard for all of the image editors, GIMP included. We also got opacity and fill. I'm not sure what fill does, what the difference is between that and opacity. I did just read the manual and I couldn't figure it out. And then the final thing that this has that GIMP still doesn't have is CMYK support. So if you're a graphic designer doing print work, you're going to need to be able to do work in CMYK because when you're printing something out, it uses cyan, magenta, yellow, and I think the K is black. Yeah, the K is key, which is black. And those colors mix together to make whatever color you need. Whereas on a screen, you're using pixels, which contain different amounts of red, green, and blue to make the color you want. So if you need to do print work, this is a essential feature that GIMP still doesn't fully support. You can export in CMYK, but you still have to do all your editing in RGB, which is the normal way to do it. Now, some parts of the UI just feel a little plain and incomplete. Like if you go to settings, for example, this is the entire settings window for a document. Like this settings thing, you'd expect app settings, but it's actually document settings. And if I do go to the app settings, which is preferences, this is the entire settings page. This is how much settings GIMP gives you in comparison. So this is very, very early on. Like, this is not going to replace Photopea for me just yet, but I'm not going to lie, for a brand new project, this is a really good starting foundation, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. I can easily see this becoming the go-to for professional image work on Linux, especially after like a year or two of development. Give this some time to mature. I'm really excited for this piece of software. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, you might like my video right here on why GIMP isn't ready for me, and you also might like my video right here about running Affinity Photo on Linux. With all that said, I'm also trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of May, so click right here to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.